Quick statement. I take coaching too. So first of all, I just kind of want to thank a number of people, obviously, to get to this point and have the fields look the way they look. All the players out on the field, a ton of people have put a lot of hard work into that. Obviously, first and foremost, Witt and Danny White have been phenomenal. Appreciate all their help. The grounds crew has been awesome. The facilities people, specifically Brittany Lee and Casey Underwood, I don't know if you guys know them. They have been fantastic. Training table staff, I could go on and on. Also want to congratulate Megan Duffy, Coach Megan Duffy in the women's basketball program. Etoro Coleman's a really good friend of mine as well. Awesome that they got an NCAA tournament bid, and know there's been a ton of hard work that's gone into that. So, congratulations to them. And then obviously Coach Robbie and our wrestling program, ACC champs. And I think they are leaving for the tournament, I think Tuesday morning around 11 o'clock. So if possible, we have practice. I'm going to try to get over there to see them off. But what they've been able to do in Coach's time here has been awesome. So excited about the spring game, excited about spring practice. I think it's going to be really important that we pack Lane Stadium for a number of reasons. Give us an opportunity to kind of get an understanding of what a game day is like around here, try to make it as game-like as possible. Put some exciting football out there on the field to give the fans and the media, obviously, a first glimpse of what the team looks like and try to play some real football. So I think that'll be exciting for us as well. And then I think the other things, we'll get into in terms of when I answer your questions and things like that. I think we have released some medical information for you guys, which will be valuable too, to make these meetings go a little bit more efficient. But truly appreciate you guys all coming out to cover Tech football, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
James, I'm curious, how do you structure the...
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
This is already opened, and I'm a germaphobe. Yeah, so it's a little concerning. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
I'm curious, in your first spring here, how do you structure the quarterback competition? With obviously a guy you're familiar with Ethan, but do you split reps evenly among guys? Is it wide open? Does somebody specifically go out there first?
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest challenge, right? So a couple things. We've made sure that the players all know that everything was being evaluated. So the strength staff was having an evaluation, the winter workouts. That's why we tracked all of the competitions. That was a factor in the meetings that we're allowed to have. All those types of things. How are they retaining information? How are they answering questions? All that stuff has been part of the evaluation process. But we got to find a way to get them reps, because there's guys that are unbelievable in the meeting room and then they can't do it out of the field. So although we'll have kind of a starting point, it is fluid, and it's also why we are going to do as much two-spot teaching and two-spot drills as we possibly can. The other thing is it just makes us more efficient. So for example, say you go the 1s for 5 reps, the 2s for 5 reps, and the 3s for 5 reps. If we can go 2 fields and the 3s and 4s are going at the same time as the 1s and the 2s, and we're videoing all of that, it gives us the best ability to be efficient on the field, get off the field as quickly as we possibly can, and get all the guys reps. But it's literally to start going to be a straight rotation between those 5 guys, and we'll start to kind of figure out where we're at sooner rather than later. It's almost impossible at the quarterback position to base it off of winter workouts and strength and conditioning, but we have no choice but use some of that information that we've been given already.
James, I want to ask that spring veterans sometimes get limited some snaps because they've had so much experience, but because of this being a new coaching staff, every position coach is new except for wide receiver and offensive line. Do you envision having full competition, get those guys as many reps as possible, and just see what your roster looks like through 15 practices?
Yeah, great question. At this stage, we don't see ourselves limiting anybody or anything. As this progresses, we may get late in the spring ball, and now Brent Pry as the defensive coordinator and Ty Howell as the offense coordinator, and the same thing on special teams. They may say, hey, I got a really good idea who this guy is, and we may want to make some adjustments behind him and say, okay, we feel really good about our starting center, but we need a bigger evaluation on who the backup is. So we may cut a few reps from the starter, and now we know we need to develop the backups to 2 and to 3 deep and give those more reps. So at this stage, no, we won't limit anybody. But as this spring ball grows and continues on, we may start to make some adjustments once we got a better feel of who our team is and who are clearly established guys that know their stuff and also can go out and execute it at a high level.
Hey, James, I wanted to ask about the running back room.
Yep.
Obviously, Marcellus, he ran for a lot of yards last year, was very productive, and Tyler Jeff, Messiah is a guy you're familiar with, and you add Bill. What do you like about the makeup of that room, the different skill sets? What stood out to you guys of those guys in winter workouts?
Yeah, because of injuries, we're a little thin there. I think you guys have kind of gotten some of those notes. Thinner than we would like to be. So we'll see how that plays out. Bill has been kind of an exciting one. I think you guys saw when he first got here, he was a cheeseburger away from 250 pounds. He has changed his body dramatically and is moving well. But it's still to be determined. I think Marcellus is a really good example, right? Our running backs coach hasn't had a chance to see him or evaluate him yet. So, he's a big part of all of this. So, we'll see. We'll see how this thing goes and kind of where we're at. But, I wish we were a little bit healthier at that position, especially when you say the guy who was the returning starter's out. You guys are keep looking at the list. Is that on there? Marcellus is not on there? Yeah. So I apologize, Marcellus. I should have double-checked the list. No, you're good. You're good. Marcellus should have been on that list, I think. Am I right there, Tristan? Yeah. So I'll make sure we double-check all the information first. I saw when I said that, you guys all started kind of looking down at the list. Yeah.
Coach, is there now you're 4 months in, has there been something that you might have thought was going to be a challenge getting done in these first 4 months that maybe went better than you were expecting it to be, whether it was roster building or recruiting, or building your staff or admin help?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is I think there's a ton of excitement from me and the staff because I think there are a ton of areas for improvement. And that is specifically in our football program, that is in the athletic department, and I think that's really on campus philosophically. There's a ton of areas that I think we can improve on. To me, that's exciting. To me, that's really exciting because I think there's a ton of low-hanging fruit. And then there's some stuff that we're going to have to be pretty aggressive and climb up deep into the tree to get fixed as well. But to me, that's what's so exciting. There's a lot of areas for improvement within our football program and outside.
Hey, Coach, I was just wondering, with the ever-evolving landscape of college football between the NIL and transfer portal, has that impacted how you run spring practices throughout the years?
Well, I think a lot of those things, I guess the first thing I would say is yes. But I think some of the things that have changed because of that, right? Having one transfer portal window, I think that is a reaction to coaches having to change how they did spring ball and other things. So I think having the one window changes that. I think maybe before it did impact it. So I would say now we're at a place where I would say no. We're back to maybe more of a traditional spring ball. But I think, that's some of the concerns. You saw people stop televising, their spring games. Some people stopped doing spring games, totally overall. And again, I think part of that was because of the second transfer portal window. So we'll see if the pendulum swings back. I'm not sure. But I don't think it's changed as much now under the current rules that we're in.
So, Coach, if you could answer one question about this team at the end of the 15 practices, what would it be and why?
So one question, I mean, that's hard to do, right? When you're taking over a program, and there's so many areas that I'm still learning about Virginia Tech football, about our staff, about the players. It's hard for me to say this is the one thing. I mean, obviously the big one you guys want is one of the first questions, right? The quarterback. That's obviously a very, very important question that we have to get answered as soon as possible. And not just the starter, but who are the top two quarterbacks are going to be so we can get those guys ready. So, yeah, that's hard for me because there's just so many things that I'm still trying to figure out, and so are the coaches. And winter workouts are great, and the weight room are great, but we don't really know who our team is. I think we're in a much better position than we were when I arrived on campus, thanks to the support of so many different people and the hard work of our current team, as well as the guys that we got out of the transfer portal, as well as the high school guys that joined us at mid-semester. But there's still so much that we have to know. I don't know if I could say one thing.
I'm curious how you look at the offensive line in springtime. Do you like to get guys in one spot, sort of train them at that spot, or you mix them around at different positions, see where they might fit best within the group?
Yeah, so I think retaining Matt obviously helps with that, right? He's got a pretty good idea already who these guys are. I think the challenge on the offensive line, I think it's a challenge, but also I think it's a blessing sometimes, is I think when you're really good, it's not a left tackle and a backup left tackle, a left guard and a backup left guard. It's typically, okay, here are the starters, and then here's the next best available player inside. Here's the next best available at tackle. And then there's going to be some guys that we're going to try to recruit as many of these guys as we can that are swing guys. They're guards with enough length that can play tackle and athleticism to play tackle, or some tackles that got enough girth and size that can move inside. So now it's not who's your backup left tackle, it's who's your next best available player that we can get on the field. There's going to be some swing guys, but I also think there's going to be probably next best tackle on the perimeter, next best interior guy. And we'll figure that out. I mean, you'd love to be in a position where you feel like there's not a significant drop-off and you can just go a traditional two deep. But I think more times than not, it's who's the 6th, 7th, 8th best offensive lineman. And by doing it that way, you need position flexibility. And it may be, okay, your right guard helmet breaks and he needs to come off the field. The best way to do it now is your starting right tackle moves to right guard, and the next best player to get on the field is a tackle. So it's to be determined, but that's how I see this typically playing out in college football.
Is there an advantage to that spot specifically on the O-line to having a 5 you feel pretty good about coming out of spring ball?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Is there an advantage to the offensive line specifically to kind of know or have a good idea of who your starting
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because the chemistry and the coordination that it takes for those offensive linemen with all the twists and games and blitzes that defenses come up with nowadays, that cohesion of that group working together is really important. But I would also say at this stage, it's more about us laying a foundation and figuring out who those guys are. We got time during training camp to get that group cohesive. Right now, it's more about finding who are the guys that we think we can win with and who are the guys that, from a development standpoint, are a little bit behind, and we need to speed up their maturation process as quick as we possibly can.
Hey, Coach. Thomas Hughes, Virginia Tech and SI. I'm curious
Hey,
as to
Thomas.
what your thoughts are on the wide receiver room so far and what your thoughts are on the leadership of Aiden Green.
Yeah, I've been a big AG fan. Aiden Green, really from the beginning, he was part of last year's leadership council. I met with those guys. I also think it is awesome in today's college football when you see a guy that his entire career has been at one institution. That guy's made a commitment to this place. He has bled, sweat, and cried for this program during adversity. It wasn't like this has all been smooth sailing during his time, right? So I give him a ton of credit. I wasn't sure. Obviously I watched tape and I was impressed with what I saw on tape, but I wasn't sure kind of how he was wired. I wasn't sure about the other things. I love my meetings with him and his family, but you never know until you get out there, and he's been very impressive. Extremely competitive, tough mentally and physically. I've been impressed with him so far. And then I think we got a ton of other guys that we're excited about, but they're still kind of in the earn it phase, right? I'm not probably comfortable at this stage probably talking about any of the rest of the guys. Some guys have come in with more accolades than others. Some guys are returning and ready to take the next step. But I'm going to be a little bit patient before speaking on those guys. But I think AG is probably the one proven commodity based on what he did last year. But then also what I've seen since I've been on campus, I've been very, very impressed with his leadership, with how he communicates, with how he challenges. Been very honest with me. I'm able to. He's one of those guys like, don't ask unless you want to hear his truth. His perspective on it, and that's been really valuable for me in a short period of time.
Good afternoon, Coach Franklin. Austin Hickson, WDBJ7.
Hey, Austin.
In the spring workouts, we saw a video you kind of giving a message to not only the team but to some of the transfers that came in with you from Penn State, saying this is not the same James Franklin that was at Penn State. Kind of going into your first spring ball at Virginia Tech, what is the James Franklin that they're going to get, and kind of what do you hope you can get the response you get from them in this new James Franklin?
Well, I think it's the same thing I told the guys, right? The core of who I am as a man and as a coach, those things haven't changed. But the reality is, just like we challenge the players that they need to be growing and evolving every single day, it's the same way with the coaches. We should be learning, growing, and getting better. And that's what I've challenged myself to do, right? Look in the mirror. What are areas that I can improve? What are areas that I can put myself in position to serve the Virginia Tech community, to serve our players and the staff? That's going to put us in the best position to be successful. So the core of who I am at my age, that's not changing, but obviously making sure that just like the players and the staff, that I'm challenging myself to get better every single day as well, learning from all the experiences that I've had, good and bad.
What's your emphasis on cross-training during the spring? You want to see a lot of it, whether it's on offense or defense, just to get these guys ready for a position that they're going to master in training camp.
When you say cross-training, be a little more specific what you're asking, please.
Like linebackers, you want to see both inside linebackers,
Gotcha.
both spots, safeties, playing boundary field.
Gotcha.
Simple
Yeah.
as that.
So in a perfect world, if you're a couple years into the system, you're comfortable moving guys because you feel like they've mastered a spot, or maybe not mastered, but they're pretty good at the Mike spot. So we're going to, now get them some reps at the Will or the Sam or whatever it may be. That's a little bit of challenge right now when we're installing kind of new schemes on offense, defense, and special teams. But once again, kind of to the question earlier about the O-line, at the end of the day, we got to find who has the ability, the football IQ to handle multiple positions to allow us to get the best guys on the field, because our second Mike may be our first Sam, right? So we got to figure that out. So you typically try not to do that with young players. Allow them to gain some confidence and get comfortable at one position before you move them. But the older players, we're probably going to challenge those guys a little bit again so we can figure out how do we get our best 11 on the field in all three phases.
Coach, have you made any position changes since last season, or are you perhaps thinking about trying guys, experimenting with guys at like different positions and things like that this spring? Is anything you can comment on as far as that goes?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't think so. The one just that I would probably mention to you guys from depth perspective, based on what we talked about the running back position, is Darius Taylor. We've moved to running back to allow us to practice the way we want to practice, and he's being a great teammate and doing that for us. But that's really it from what I know, Tristan, Travis. Yeah, I think that's it in terms of position changes.
In terms of structure for spring practices, what does that look like? How do you kind of gradually install stuff, ramp stuff up going into the spring game? I'm just curious to kind of get your thoughts on how you like kind of spring practice to be structured for your guys.
Yeah, it'll be very similar from what I understand for what they've done here in the past. That's one of the things that I think has been helpful for the players specifically and some of the staff that we retained. There's a core foundation of things that Brent brought with him, that is already in place here. So there's some tweaks and some changes, but I would say just in general, the structure's similar to what they're used to. And I think that's been helpful. There's some changes, and there's going to be some things that maybe are emphasized more than they were in the past, but a lot of the structural stuff for the players and for the staff is going to be similar.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.